Welcome everyone. Welcome to folks online to the April 20th, 2018 Learning and Development Roundtable. We're live, so this is streaming live to Facebook, and I just want to start with some dramatic news. If you didn't hear when I came in, Fiona Jarvis, who is an amazing human being and works this person's two very, very young children are in danger right now. So that's what she's doing. That's her job. So she feels really, really bad, and she called me this morning, and I'm like, best excuse ever. Like, you know, how can you be upset about that? And I just also want to acknowledge that, you know, for a lot of you, this is a big chunk out of your day, and it's a big deal to come onto the UN compound. So my apologies for not having a session on decision making. So what I thought we could do, we'll do some introductions, and after that we can have a conversation. I put together a workshop on communication in like 10 minutes this morning, like an interactive, fun, you know, thing on communication, which I'm not wedded to. So if that doesn't, you know, ring your bell, no problem. And if you have another idea, you know, it's our time, it's our stage, we can do what we want. So while that kind of ruminates and you think about that, I thought what we could do is just go around and do a quick intro, a personal role, whatever you like. So Anita, would you like to start? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Anita Shankar. I work at the Global Trauma Project, working to build the capacity of local providers. So that's one role I play. And I'm a diverse learner is another one.
My name is George Kiara. I work with Writing. Basically, I'm the regional director doing the operations. And we have programs in the DAB where we work on education, accelerated learning, and livelihood programs. And also in the RC with child soldiers, immobilizing them and then reintegrating back to the community upon rehabilitation. We also do work peace building projects in Burundi and also Chad, where we do education and language training.
Very cool guy. Really worth getting to know. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Isabel Faber, and I work for InSpeace, and I work in peace building. I'm in charge of the programs in Rwanda and Burundi.
Welcome. And this is your first meeting, yeah?
It is.
Yeah, welcome.
Me in the back here, I am Jenny Aldrady. I'm a human resource and training professional, and more recently a big focus on rebranding and realigning my business to specialize in customer service, particularly in East Africa.
Linda, I'm a business development consultant for Asian companies coming here to East Africa. And in my personal front, I'm also running a Tai Chi academy here in Nairobi.
Do you do Tai Chi at the Canadian High Commission?
Yes.
Oh, I've heard about you. Oh, okay.
I'm supporting the teacher.
Okay. Oh, cool.
To bring it to the mainstream.
Small world.
I'm Jodie Deploys. I'm an intercultural trainer. My background is in anthropology, but actually I specialize in disaster studies. But I haven't done anything with that for years, so I'm really intrigued by hearing your background. But currently working as an intercultural trainer here in Kenya. Yeah.
I'm Suzanne Randler. I'm also an intercultural trainer and also a marketing consultant. And I like working with startups. I'm also part of the Here We Are network, which we set up with Anita. I think some of you have been to our meetings, which are once a month, where we try and encourage the professional development of expat spouses. Yes, yes,
Small world.
My name is Maylin Folk. I'm a Canadian Arts and Heritage Specialist. So I'm here now. I followed my husband, who's a French journalist who works for Radio France.
4 months ago, I was doing my master's degrees and working there in Chicago. I have a degree in counseling psychology, so I know Ilya from Local Trauma Project. And I just recently, in 2016, finished my master's degree in HR management. So I'm back in Kenya, my family lives here, kind of job hunting at the moment, doing a couple different consultant projects in human resources, so maybe we can connect later. And this is my first meeting here at Here We Company. And yeah. Welcome.
My name is Becca, and this is my second time here. Just finished my last exams on the 9th.
Yay!
Yeah, and I work with an NGO called Kilimanjaro Initiative, on and off. So I'm also at the moment kind of job hunting, and I'm also doing my thesis on loss, grief, and trauma counseling.
Oh.
Yes, so that's what I really have going on at the moment.
Wow. Welcome and congratulations on finishing your exams. Okay, I think we have Erica is online with some students from China. She's, yeah, so feel free, Erica. We've got quite a bit of a delay. There's a lag there, but, oh, here she is. Okay. So hi, so sorry to hear Fiona couldn't come, but I'm happy she's out helping folks who need it. My name is Erica, and I'm a public policy professor at Rutgers? How do you say that word?
Rutgers. Oh, it's American. Rutgers is in New Jersey, so it's very American.
How do you say that, Judy? Yeah. Rutgers. Okay, University Institute at Northeast Normal University in China. My students are excited to have Anita as a guest speaker in a couple weeks. Yeah, so great. Welcome, Erica. So if this is your first meeting, know that we Facebook Live this, so we interact with people, and people will come in from all different places, so we'll see how that goes. I'm just going to switch for a moment to the agenda. The folks, what do you call that? Mercury retrograde?
Retrograde.
Is there something? Yes. Okay. Because there's folks from the Danish Refugee Council that are stuck at the gate, so I've just given them some information. Okay. So they have someone to call for help, and I Facebook Faith. And they're bringing these wonderful fabric products, backpacks and computer covers and things. So if you saw that in the agenda, those are going to be for sale, and those proceeds go to support refugees. So hopefully they can get that sorted out. And now I want to turn it over to you. Would you, what's your pleasure? How would you like to spend this time with these amazing people in the room? What would you like to do? Not to put you on the spot or anything. It would be nice to hear what you have prepared on communication. Sure. I think communication is key in many different aspects.
Sure. So, and can I also put out there, just because I had asked individually, and I don't know how quickly you can do this, of talking about WordPress as well. If anyone else is interested.
Oh, that's interesting.
WordPress. I mean, I had some questions about blog sites, not websites, and of course, I always go to her for my tech questions. But if anyone would be...
Do you guys want a session on WordPress?
And if that's something you can do
Yeah,
prompted.
of course.
Sure. I'm working on a WordPress site for my volunteer. I just made it.
Okay.
So, communication.
Okay. So we've got communications on the table. We've got WordPress on the table. Before we make a decision, and potentially we could do both, you know. Is there any other ideas that you have? And I know this is a huge question to ask, right?
I see it's more of an opportunity to network, so it would be nice to get to know and talk a bit.
Okay.
You know.
And do you... Everyone can say what their most important learning of this professional side you'd like to talk about. I think that would be interesting, maybe kind of compromise between network communication.
Okay. So we've got some networking, we've got some communication. Under that umbrella could be a little little tiny piece on WordPress.
I'm running, I'm trying to also start up a WordPress site in order to communicate with students or with potential new students. I find it difficult, the reaching out, using social media platforms.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's about communication, I
Okay.
guess. Yeah.
Okay. So we could talk about some social media stuff under communication. Okay.
If there's any other person who has any particular skill in decision making, that's what I came for.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any input, I'd be really interested.
Well, I've done, I'm a certified facilitator on democracy, which is a decision-making tool. I'm happy to share a little bit about what it is, because actually the one who introduced it in the Netherlands is coming to Kenya for a couple of months, and to work with me on combining that decision-making in multicultural situations. So I don't know if that sounds interesting. Yeah. But I haven't prepared, so.
But you're a good trainer.
Yeah, I can just give this.
Is it a framework? No.
It is, and it's quite an interesting framework, but yeah, I'm just thinking if we could do a small exercise. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Only if it's interesting.
So I'm just, and I want to make sure that I got all these notes here. So we could talk about decision making. We could do some kind of general networking, communication, and under that could potentially be some social media things, potentially something about WordPress, and then sort of my, tools and tips, kind of that I. Anything else?
I guess for me, because I'm shifting my business, I get irritated. Customer service is, I get so irritated. And maybe as we share the networking process, I wouldn't mind hearing what people think about customer service. It would help me maybe continue business.
Talk to the machine all the time. Get nowhere.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that, because just this morning I was thinking about this. I went to this store and I tried to find their phone number, and there was no phone number, and I went, and the guy's like, well, of course they don't have a phone. I'm like, why don't you have a phone? Well, because people would phone me all the time. Okay.
Maybe just to drop another idea, just out of my own interest. So I'm doing this intercultural training. I would love to hear stories as well, like people maybe sharing, like we're all living in this multicultural environment. So what would be a great story to share? But that would be interesting. Because it's part of one of my goals this year is also to devote a day a week at research. And so I can come up with some ideas, but I would love to run that through more people. Like what are the huge stories in this area of intercultural life, business, communication?
Okay, so just off the top of my head here, I brought this little pack of goodies, because there's a lot of really great ideas here, which we would be here for a week, I think, if we do all of them. So I'm just wondering, with your permission, can I do sort of this was meant for an icebreaker, that kind of incorporates some of these things, and then we can figure out from there where we go next. Would that be okay? This is going to unfold as we, continue on. Okay, so this is a little bag of goodies that I just keep adding to, and it's got lots and lots and lots of different things in it. And what I'll do, I'll invite you to come on up and pick something that represents communication to you here, and then find a partner and talk about that. Why did you pick that thing? Okay. We're going to do this a couple of times. We'll do customer service, okay, and we'll also do intercultural. Okay? So it's a little bit about storytelling. So come on up, and if nothing speaks to you here, if something immediately came to your mind and it's not in my little thing, you can just describe your thing to your partner. Okay?
So the question is?
So the question is, pick something here that makes you think of communication. So communication is like a pink shiny whistle because, and then you would tell that story to your partner. Okay? Well, come on up. Oh, so Erica's saying she thinks she knows the young lady in the group that just got her master's in HR. May I ask her name?
Neha.
Speak to the camera.
Oh, hi. My name's Neha. Neha Chowdhury.
So I'll write, with your permission,
Sure.
Neha, I'll write your name in the comments, and
Sure.
then if Erica wants to connect with you, she can do that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks,
Oh,
Erica.
don't you just love the...
Okay.
Oh, I'm a little confused.
Yeah, me too. I don't know what ones.
Communication.
I was eyeing what you wanted. Yes, you did. I have to think about it. Oh dear.
Neha, can I was gonna tag you. I just want to make sure that I've got the right. Is that you?
Yes, it is.
So I think this is a file science, the current media. So I have to make that and
Neha? She says, hi, we met in Women Who Hike Kenya. Tell her I'm Erica from the NGO conference. Good to see you again.
oh, the women who hike group. Yes.
So
Tell
she's
her I'll message her once I get back home. Thank you. So this represents community because it's town currency, and I think that wherever you end up, like we're so diverse in this room, we're all diverse. So you travel, you get to explore different places, and then how to communicate with different people, different cultures, get to learn about different styles of communication. Like even just within this room, I'm sure we all have different styles of communication. So I think currency represents communication to me in a way because it's a way, it's a form of exploring and travel. And when you travel the world, you so that's nice. Love, coach. can be interpreted in so many different ways. Yeah, so great. Yes, that's right. Erica told me she was going to China. She was going, yes, that's right.
Does it feel like a time to switch, folks? Yeah? Okay, so one type of communication. Oh, and by the way, Erica says communication is like a balloon because it expands and contracts based on the energy or air you put in it. Oh, so good, so good. Oh, and sometimes it can pop if too much is forced in too fast. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to come back to those discussions you just had in a moment, but just to, it's Friday, potentially it's the end of a long week, so to keep your energy up, feel free to come and get another item that describes a very specific type of communication, which is customer service. So customer service is like blank, and I think we'll say customer service in Kenya.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. So customer service in Kenya is like blank because blank. So come up and feel free to get another item.
This does not necessarily.
Yes. Yeah. Please put back what you had.
This does not necessarily represent Canada. It's just a flag.
It is the Canadian flag, but I suppose it could. Yeah, you can make it into whatever you want.
Do we have to switch our?
No. Yeah. If you want to use the same one, absolutely.
I don't know what this is. It looks like.
Oh yeah. Did we bring back the other one?
Yeah, I'm keeping mine. Are you bringing back the koala bag? Did you want it?
So these are the things you normally throw away when you're tidying up your house.
You're my fan?
This is a great use. These are the items I normally throw away when I decluttering.
What's your name again? I'm sorry. Jenny. Okay, so she used to work in customer service. Maybe she can give you some insights.
Oh, good.
Here in Kenya. So I will tell you all about it.
Oh, good. So I'm also Kenyan, and I work in customer service in Kenya.
Okay.
But I think there's a shift, and maybe we can talk about that shift.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a big shift. It's an educational shift, and a new mentality shift.
Interesting. Well, I'm in that category of the youth, so I guess.
It's so hard. It is hard, and I also
I don't know what to think. I don't really have an opinion on that situation yet.
there.
Are we doing the same thing?
Oh, actually, and do you want to just shift one person beside you so that you get a chance to talk to someone new?
So I got the Indian time seat, tea. So I use it for so customer service. What I told her we all have a way to so that was what I was but so I feel that
So I would say that just so the whole picture. Yeah. And just like, yeah, just about different, I guess it kind of combines with communication, like just customer service is also yes, I don't know. Different styles of once
mine is definitely from my customer like I
communication is so different in every country you go to. And I guess like, for example, I feel like they are my students, so like very yeah, they're aggressive. They're aggressive. That depends on where you are. However, but like they'll like let's say for example you're asking for like me and that is a strategy that where as much as the piece that with you and you want to walk away so we can understand they don't buy it and it could be very simple so like they'll tell you not making people won't get it and then they'll say like oh we just want especially if someone is just and I really believe that's definitely know that there is yes foreigners especially but Okay, folks, you ready for your third and final one? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. You ready for a third and final one?
Yeah.
Yes. So I invite you to come on up and pick an item that reminds you of intercultural communication. Intercultural communication. And also feel free to take one of these handouts, which I'll explain when you sit down. So intercultural communication is like blank because blank. And don't forget to grab a handout here.
No, I'm not with a partner, but I'd love, if we do that together, I'd love to share.
Just the camera's right there, so I'm just going to get you to just be I think so too. Okay, folks, if you want to come back to the large group, feel free to take a seat. Come back to the large group.
So, like, you need to sharpen your skills. What's that?
This is very interesting.
Good, good. By the way, there was a hiccup with one of the badges, but Jane and Faith are on their way. And they're the folks from the Danish Refugee Council with the lovely things. So they'll be here any sec. Okay, Nita, I'm going to pass that back to you. I'm going to ask to do a quick debrief of those 3 cycles. But before we do that, I handed out, this is a worksheet that I use with clients quite frequently, and I put a link to it in the Facebook Live, so feel free to take a look there. As people involved in the education field, training field, I'm guessing that the challenge that I face is one that you frequently face as well, which is how do you get the learning to leave the room? Right? You give a workshop. How do you transfer that learning? How do you cement it, anchor it, extend it, etc.? So this is something I've been using, I designed and I've been using for a couple of years now, I think. And it's called a harp. So to play your harp, all 4 of these things I think are important. And HARP is an acronym. So H is highlights. So my suggestion is at the end of this workshop that as we go through today, feel free to make notes in each of these quadrants, and then before we end today, we'll come back to this and see if this was helpful to you. What did you jot down, etc. So in order to play your harp, you need the H. That's your highlights. That's when the light bulb goes off and you think, Okay, those are the things you don't want to forget. Okay, so you can jot those down there. The A are actions. So this is the actual application of learning. So what do you want to do as a result of that learning? So it could be anything from read a book, talk to someone, follow up with someone, do some more reading on a particular topic, in this case, try a particular communication technique. It could be anything, right? But it's action-oriented. The R are resources. So I think quite naturally this group is really lovely at networking. So are there people here you want to follow up with? How are you going to make that happen? What's the person's name? How are you going to connect? By Facebook, phone, text, LinkedIn, those kinds of things. Maybe someone mentions a particular book or a blog or whatever. Those are the things that would go under the resource quadrant. And then P stands for pictures. We interpret pictures and images 600,000 times faster than text. 600,000 times faster than text. So it is talking about social media, it is no surprise that by next year, I believe it is, and don't quote me on this, people online, don't quote me on this, something like 80% of information online is going to be visual. And a ton of that is video, right? And it's not surprising because our brains interpret pictures way faster than text. So all of those GIFs, all of the memes, all of the images that have just a tiny bit of text on them, it makes sense, right? So this is your official permission to doodle. Not that you need permission. And adults get often, and I know there's probably some notable exceptions in the group, but a lot of adults get hung up about drawing. You're not going to share this with anyone. So it's just my gentle challenge to you to try to represent your learning by a picture. Right? So what does good communication look like? If you had to make a symbol out of that, okay? No grades, hopefully it's not drawing up any bad memories of your grade 2 teacher who said, you're coloring outside the lines. Right? So just a space to doodle. So any questions on the tool? Anything? I put a link on the Facebook Live, so if you feel inclined to use it, feel free, and please keep the attribution there at the bottom. Okay, so we'll come back to that at the end of our session and just see what did you jot down? What were your highlights? What are some action items, etc. So going back to our three conversations, in my mind, we'll just do this very briefly before we move on to the next topic. Is that okay? We'll just do a quick debrief? Mm-hmm. Okay. So communication is like blank because blank. What did you think of when you, what items did you pick up? What did you talk about with that?
Okay, since it's my topic, I picked up that I have no idea what it is. The thing with two pink.
Oh, this thing.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And I think communication is like that because please can we come together? Oh, I didn't pick that. I picked something else. I picked the flower.
The flower. Okay.
Also flowers. Yeah, I picked the flower. And it was around. I beg your pardon. It was around two-way appreciating it two-way, giving and receiving.
Okay.
Or something.
Nice. So when I'm doing training of trainers, I do this thing called pulling back the curtain, which is telling people what I'm thinking of as a trainer. So note to self, 3 things is too much. Like people, it's a little challenging to remember. And also I asked you to pull it back, and I should have had you keep it. Let's give a round of applause to folks who made it. So sorry with the badge complications. This is Faith and Jane. Relax. You're so welcome. We're just debriefing a quick exercise, so grab your breath. Let the challenges do what they will. Folks were just picking up items and what they reminded them of with communication, customer service, and intercultural communication. So. Okay, yeah, so pulling back the curtain, I should have had you keep the items, not return them. And we probably should have done a quick debrief after each one because it's too much to remember. Having said that, anyone else? Communication is like...
For me, communication is like a matchbox.
Matchbox, okay.
Yeah, very useful.
Ah.
You can use it to warm food or cook,
nice.
But also very dangerous if it's put in the wrong hands.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
can burn.
Nice.
It can destroy.
Very good.
And it has to, you have to choose because you have to pick the stick and you have to strike it at a particular place, which means that you have to be very careful with the way you communicate.
Nice. And just extending that metaphor, it could be affected by the elements, right? Affected by the context.
Yes.
You know, communicate, like if you douse it with water, something that can warm you and be safe with the food is completely useless. Yeah. Great. Nice job, George. Anyone else?
Yeah, I picked up the 5 rupee note bill. Yeah. So to me, that represents one form of communication because it's it represents diversity as well. So just by looking at this room, we are so diverse. Just by culturally, ethnicity-wise. So I think the currency is a way that people can communicate as well. So when you travel the world, you meet all sorts of diverse individuals individuals with all sorts of different communication styles. So that was just one thing that came.
Nice. And was it this one that you picked up?
What was this one?
I think it was that
Oh,
one. Yes. That one right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. Nice. Anyone else?
Yeah. For me, I picked the hard choice for the intercultural diversity and the communication.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because for me, I have a intercultural background. Born to a Kenyan mom, a Zimbabwean father, raised by a couple from Switzerland and Norway. Yeah, so as a way of communication, that speaks a lot. Then also picked it as communication for just the general, because I mean, love is an international language. Language everyone understands. Yeah, then I picked the flag for customer service.
Okay.
Yeah, which was my field before. Yeah, and that shows a lot of diversity because we come from different cultures, different countries, where everyone in their own country does things differently.
Right.
So one way or another, we just have to learn to incorporate everyone else's way of doing things and work together. Because at the end of the day, we have to communicate whether we have it or not.
And the interesting thing about the Canadian flag is, for me, was that has potentially different meaning for me because I'm Canadian, right? And some of the symbols on there, what do they mean? And so it is with communication, that someone looks at something and sees it as this, and someone else looks at exactly the same thing, and it has a very different meaning, very different story, and some of those things also overlap. Okay, what about, and some of you have already done this, but customer service. What did you pick for customer service?
So this is where I went wrong. This Friday you're allowed to go wrong on a Friday. This is where I picked that pink thing that I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But Anitra and I think we sussed it out, but we're not sure, and we can't share it in this group. But this, so for me, customer service is fundamentally where I began. And in Kenya in particular, so I'm Kenyan born and raised, left Kenya, went away for 15 years, came back. Of course, I've grown and then Kenya's developed incredibly. But what irritates me, why I picked this is my biggest bugbear at the moment, is service doesn't come to you. So you'll go, for example, to a gate and the watchman will pull back something. And you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? You come and talk to me, find out who I'm here to, come to me. And you'll walk into a restaurant and so am I going to get this drink, or do I have to stand up and come and, how, just, so it's not coming to me. That's why I did that.
Interesting. Other people? Joe, you have an interesting look on your face. Anything to? And by the way, just to pull back the curtain, I'm very aware that we have two new people who have not been introduced. So I'm assuming that there was a high degree of frustration. So I'm giving you a couple minutes to just chill, and then we'll do introductions again. So a couple more rounds. Yeah.
Well, I stick to the same item the whole time, and it was the Happy Monster. I just love the Happy Monster because even customer service, yes, it has been like a monster sometimes.
There's a badge or a pin.
There's a badge with a small magnet on the side.
Okay.
It's just a cute Happy Monster, and so I think there's two sides of a lot of things, like communication. Like it can be very happy, very like a learning opportunity, like a beautiful thing, and it can be disastrous. And so I guess it's the same with customer service, and we talked about it. It's also sometimes my mood, how I go into something. If I'm very happy and very sort of relaxed and comfortable, then I like to use the word comfortable a lot and balanced. Then sometimes it comes back to me. Like it can be a happy event, and I'm like, wow, things really work fast, and you have this nice conversation. And sometimes it can be a disaster, and I can't always put my finger on it.
Yeah, I was talking to her. I use since I teach Tai Chi, I use the Taoist principle know, the yin yang. How in everything in life, there are opposites.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a very friendly conversation or a very nasty conversation, but ultimately, I think as a communicator, you have to be naturally comfortable, and the listener has to have reached that position as well, in order for you to have a balanced compromise in whatever it is that you're trying to have in terms of service. So physically and mentally, I feel that if you are not balanced yourself, whatever words or body language you evince, the listener, be it a government official down to a policewoman or a waiter, would reflect what you feel. So finding that balance within yourself is crucial, and I think a lot of us struggle to achieve that sense of balance in our day-to-day interactions, and I think without resorting to something like alcohol or drugs or something, if you can achieve that balance, I think then communication would naturally be at a comfortable, natural zone, even for the listener or the service provider.
And I wonder too, like, how many people here have seen an expat lose it in a customer service situation? Like, just like atrocious manners. Like, and I think customer service is an interesting area for communication, because I think, and I've thought of this often, like, I need to invent a word for this, or maybe you know the word, but you're living interculturally, and these little digs, these little like stressors that they're sort of below your consciousness, but they just pull on you. And then one day KPLC comes and they're going to cut off your power, and you have paid them, and then you see these people just lose it. Like, you think, oh, like, are you going to hurt someone? Like what? I think that's an interesting term.
This is our sticks metaphor,
which is Can you pass that around?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
This is the back.
I just wanted to add that Anita did such a great talk here.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to just quickly say, describe that?
Sure. Just these little micro stresses that build up, and we don't realize that we're carrying them. In fact, I had one this morning. And I said a word I usually don't say, and my son's eyes were very big. And I realized I was so stressed and trying to do so many different things that I momentarily blew up for a minute, and then took time to re-regulate and calm down. But we do that on a societal level too, and a social level, and a family level as well. And particularly when you're in a new environment or under a lot of stress, unless we recognize that our stress is building up, sometimes little things like KPLC not having power, or some bad customer service, or multiple tweets will make us lose it.
It's not bad to be a bit aggressive. I mean, if you look at the opponent or the opposition, a little bit of aggression isn't bad. I mean, you can't be non-violent and passive all the time. Sometimes a little aggression helps the intimidation that you feel get into a state of balance.
But I loved what you said about the martial arts principle too, of knowing when to relax into it rather than to elevate it.
And I link that to issues of power. And so, for example, this hasn't happened in a long time now here, but getting pulled over by the Kenyan police, like, that is such an interesting communication, because if you're, in my very limited experience, it's only happened, I don't know, 4 times or something, but if I'm too meek, acquiescent, I'm going to end up in jail, or at least that's what it feels like. If I'm too, like, rah, 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 I could end up in jail, So I've found that I need to be way more aggressive than I normally would, and I stay out of jail. Like, but it's not my natural, it's like, these aggressive, like, getting right in my space and big guns, and, and then that has to do with race and privilege, and I'm driving a car with red plates, and, so it's very, very complicated. But this notion of how much of your power do you show up with, and how is that linked to how you would normally communicate? How I normally communicate with police is way different than my...
Aggression is important if you can establish a boundary for the listener. If the listener realizes this is your boundary, and that person will not cross it. I think and as long as that boundary is established, you can then retreat and find a compromise.
I think that's also a statement of power and privilege, though. Like, what I'm able to do and what one of my house staff could do, it's not on the same page, not even in the same book. Right?
So Anita asked me a very we had this conversation, and Anita asked me a very interesting question. And of course, I'm in the process of now diversifying myself, because I said, what is it when what is it with people in uniform in this part of the world? You put on, and they start that conversation aggressively, like you are a complete idiot or guilty before you haven't, and actually they just ask, so who are you targeting? What do you, because I said I'm going to need to get my blog, I'm going to blog and tweet, and it's like, and actually, so who are you trying to talk to? And so, I don't know, because yin and yang, you get what you give what you get. So you, more often than not, you're hit with aggression to begin with. In some of these, when you talk about police or KPLC, you're on a back foot to start with.
And by the way, I don't know if Eric, KPLC is the power company. Erica says, I agree, effective communication is not always peaceful or nice. Yeah, and I also think, I know when I'm under stress, I can make generalizations, right? So like all people in uniforms, or like this one client many years ago said to me, and they were convinced, like, I'm just like, are you kidding me? You can't, and they totally believe this, that old men who wore hats were really bad drivers. Like, like I'm, part of my head was, cha-ching, this is such a great example I'm going to use for decades now,
Mine was because they were old farmers that came into the city, and so therefore they didn't know to drive properly.
And this stuff starts really, and maybe you've heard this, some of you have heard this example, but, and some of you know my kids, but when my oldest, who just turned 21, how did that happen? I just changed his diapers last week. He was really little, like maybe 4, and you would need to know Vancouver culture to maybe get this. But we were waiting at the airport to pick his dad up, and he said, Mummy, that taxi driver doesn't, where's his hat? He's not wearing a hat. Now, can you shift the line? Like, this is a very young child. Can you think of what he would have noticed? This might be too hard for you to get, maybe not knowing Vancouver culture. And don't be tripped up by the word hat. This is not the same word you would use.
But this was not in Kenya, it was in
This was in Vancouver. So Vancouver's very, very, very multicultural. Yes. Yes. So at like 3 or 4, we had never had a conversation about this. He didn't ride in taxis. We didn't ever take cabs. But at that young of age, he had noticed that at that time in Vancouver, most of the cab drivers were Sikh, and they wore turbans. And when he said this, I was like, hats, what? And I couldn't, it took me a while, So I think these channels of thinking, right? And Jody, you can probably comment on this with your intercultural training. We get into these channels and it's hard to get our head up, I think, and see outside of them.
That's really amazing that he was 4, you said?
Yeah, he's really little.
That's amazing that at such a young age that he's able to connect, like people with turbans are taxi drivers, or that connection.
Yeah. Well, especially he's never been in a cab,
right?
Like this was just like.
I wonder what was going through his mind, or what was his thought process at that time. I really wonder.
Yeah. It was. I'm like, cha-ching. There's another example I'm going to use for years. Okay. I just want to, with your permission, pause and do another quick introduction. Is that okay? And then we'll shift gears to what? I'm not sure, but we'll figure it out. I'm not sure if I said this when you guys were in the room, but in case you're thinking, where the heck is the decision-making workshop? Fiona had an emergency that she had to attend to. She had to rescue 2 Canadian children that are in dire straits. So with big apologies, she has given her regrets, and we're going to sort that out and then have her come another time. So would it be okay to go around again and say names and a role that you play?
Sure. And since the first introduction, I thought of other roles because Susanna had pointed out. My name is Anita Shankar, and I work with the Global Trauma Project, but also with Here We Are and Wonderwalk, which I can tell you about more later.
My name is George Kara. I work with Red International. We work with refugees and also in difficult circumstances.
My name is Isabel Faber, and I work for Interpeace in Peace Building in Rwanda and Burundi.
And my name is Jenny Aljedi, and I have my own business in HR and training development. My name is Fiona. I work with French Refugee Council. I work under the urban program. Actually, any refugee that is not within the council and promote their livelihoods.
My name is Jane Mawamba. I am just newly retired. Saying that, because I get that reaction. I've been working in the humanitarian sector for 15 years, 10 years ago, so I decided to take a break. And I'm interested in transitioning into institutional development, more long-term work, and corporate social responsibility.
Nice.
Private sector. So I can take a break and learn.
Welcome.
Linda, I'm into business development for companies wishing to start up here in East Africa. Also, I'm running a Kenji academy.
I'm Debrief. I'm an intercultural trainer for both individuals and teams.
Yeah, I'm also an intercultural trainer. And also, we set up the network together for expat spouses here in Kenya. We try and meet and find interesting speakers and develop professionally. And I'm also a marketing consultant.
My name is Megan Polk. My partner is a museum and professional.
Hi, my name is Neha. I had a clinical counseling master's degree and an HR management degree as well. Currently job hunting here in Kenya. I was in the States for about 14 years, and then just recently got back to Nairobi. My family lives here. And yeah, just very looking forward to networking and meeting new people.
Hi, my name is Benta. Just finished my exams and graduating in November. I'm also currently job hunting, and I work with an NGO called Kilimanjaro Initiative.
Great. And I'm Leanne. I founded the Roundtable 5.5 years ago and facilitate it, and I'm a learning and development expert. And Faith and I go way, way back, and we haven't seen each other for a long time, so I'm particularly happy to have you, both of you here, and can't wait to look at your goodies that you brought. So this is a very atypical meeting for those of you who, it's the first time. We're just kind of making it up as we go. What I wanted to suggest is I could do a quick intercultural communications exercise. And Jody, if you had one you could pull out of your pocket that took 10 minutes or so, do you want to think about that and I can come back to you? Or
Yeah, if that's what we agree on.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, like what the feeling is of everyone about the different topics.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Good point. Where would you like to go from now? From here?
I like what you propose.
And if we had time, I could do a quick WordPress thing at the end for those. How many people would be interested in WordPress? Because I know Danielle. Oh, okay. Most people. Okay. I can just do like a super quick one at the end then if we want. Okay, so 3 things. I'll do and Jody, you can go first if you want. Doesn't matter.
No, I'm just like on the edge of like the whole deep democracy decision making is about processes like this, and it's really sort of kind of getting everyone on board. So if there's different opinions and trying to find like, okay, if there's anyone who doesn't want to do, say, WordPress, how can we still have this person on board so that there's something interesting in that? So I'm just wondering, like, if we should do some kind of decision-making process as an exercise.
Do you want to do that? That sounds really. What do you think?
Please explain what is WordPress.
WordPress is a blogging platform. Yeah.
I've been thinking for so many years, like I should start a blog, just from my entire life journey, and so WordPress is something that I came up with, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I should start a blog, but there was no push. So I was like, okay, I'll do it, but maybe this is the right opportunity to get to know WordPress.
Okay. Let me just also pull back the curtain, and I have this tool that I developed called Life Lenses, which is it's like a personality assessment tool that helps you look at what comes onto your radar easily, naturally, and comfortably. And I know some of you here have taken the assessment. So I think what's in the air is the journey lens and the destination lens. So the journey lens is about process, which is what Jody's talking about, and having a deliberate, thoughtful, methodical, genuine, process. The destination lens is, let's get to the goal. Okay, I don't want to spend, welcome. Half an hour on the process. Let's get to whatever the content is. And of course, both of those things are really important. And if you're a journey lens, some of you might be loving the let's process. And if you're a destination lens, it's like, oh, good Lord, can we just start with whatever topic it is we're going to do? So, having said that, how many people want to jump? So I'm going to use the destination lens. Okay, how many people want to jump into doing a quick intercultural communication exercise, and then Jody can do an exercise on decision making? And the other option is how many people want to spend more time on the process, and that be the exercise that we start with next. Have I put those two paths out clearly? Okay, so how many people want to do have a little taste of the deep democracy process? Okay, and how many people want to jump into an intercultural communication exercise? Okay, I think the deep democracy has it. So, which is probably.
Can I just jump in? Because actually, deep democracy is about, and just a quick background. It's about actually the democracy is like the majority wins, and then we forgot all about the minority. Like they just have to swallow their pride, and life gets on. Like, and you can see that on a global level. Like, too bad we didn't vote for Trump, so just live with it. Or we didn't vote for Kenyatta, so just live with it. And so the deep democracy is actually now searching for the voice of the minority. So yes, you have to go with the democracy principle, because in the end, it's a way of decision making. Whether that's maybe an authority who says, like, I'm the boss, so we all have to deal with this, but then don't forget about the minority. And especially in multicultural teams, I think this is really important to have that minority voice. Why? Because there's wisdom in it. There is, for example, when we decide about, are we going for WordPress? There is a wisdom, maybe, that not everyone is exactly clear what are we actually deciding on. And so now, in this process, and maybe Liam, you can have on the screen the different decisions which we were sort of considering. So one of the tools of decision making is like you need to get all the voices heard. So you need to make sure that everyone has sort of expressed their opinion. And the next one is you hunt for the no. So you really are trying to get, like, I can see maybe you are maybe not voting. So that's sort of hunting for the no. Like, okay, so what are the other voices, or what are the other ideas? And I think Leanne, you did a really great job in sort of like, oh, I can hear another opinion. And so is this something we need to explore? And so that's in your team. You have to be aware. It's sometimes easy, like, okay, let's just decide now. Let's just go with, say, an intercultural short exercise. But be aware there might be other opinions. and what is the wisdom in the other opinion? Maybe there's something like you mentioned earlier, like I came with a decision making, so I really want to hear that one. So is that a shared one?
What about echo chambers, where you kind of stick to the minority group and you hear each other, but you don't hear majority, and vice versa, the majority is not hearing the minority voices?
And so your question is?
Meaning that we could surround ourselves with people who can reflect back the same opinion, but then we're not hearing, we're close physically and mentally to the majority voices. We are in an echo chamber. We just move around in our lifestyles, just with the same people that reflect us, but we're not listening.
Yeah, and so that's a really good question, because I think what the purpose is to acknowledge that diversity and to acknowledge that you need to be open-minded and really, well, that's I think listening skills and really trying to not stick with like, okay, I hear this and we just go for it, but really talk to your team, be open, also maybe introduce the no. Like, so if there's anything in myself which thinks like, let's do something completely else, you know, let's have a coffee downstairs. Be honest to that voice in yourself and say like, oh, can I introduce even another idea? And is there anyone who maybe because I sense that you were thinking about that coffee as well? Does that make sense? Yeah. Does it answer also your question?
It goes to what I was saying about finding a balance, making sure that whoever you're talking to, you find that natural comfort zone, be that a coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
But extrapolated to the politics that we see
Exactly.
going on,
Yeah.
and social media being echo chambers for like-minded individuals to just talk to themselves, thinking that the world is according to their needs. It's just diverging, you know?
Exactly, and it's...
Can I just jump in, pulling back that curtain?
Yeah.
Did you notice what Jody did after she finished speaking?
She said, "Did you get what I mean?"
Yeah. Did I get that right? Did I hear you? Did I, that in itself is a super easy, simple communication technique. Did you feel that?
It depends on how you say it, because sometimes it could imply that you think the other person is a bit dumb and doesn't. I mean, especially it's edit. You didn't say it right. It's the tone and the context. It's like, are you speaking British English to Kenyan, and you don't understand? This is a very delicate.
Can I? You're describing. I just blogged about this. Can I jump in with a communication example here? It's a 20-second clip. So this is a communication technique that a lot of people don't know the name of, and I don't think pay enough attention to it. So here's one example. Oh, hang on. See if I can. Hopefully you can hear it. Okay, so here's here's the first example.
I think that last recommendation you made at our team meeting was fabulous. You blew me away with not only how creative it was, but how well you described it. Way to go.
Okay, sample one. Because Jody does this really well. Here's sample two. It's exactly the same words.
I think that last recommendation you made at our team meeting was fabulous. You blew me away with how creative it was and how well you described it. Way to go. Yeah. Way to go.
She sounds really blown away.
Do you know what that's called?
Yeah.
That's me, hey? Do you know that that's me talking? That's my voice. So there's verbal communication, there's non-verbal, and then I was demonstrating the third one. Do you know what that is? Same thing. But paraverbal wins 100% of the time over... No, paraverbal means everything about your words except for the words. So, like the tone of your voice, like how fast are you speaking? How slow are you speaking? Oh, I really like what you're wearing, Linda. Yeah, it's really great. What you were talking about, right, is this paraverbal. Or sorry, Suzanne, what you were talking about is if I say, so did I get it right? Like, do you feel understood? Do you get it? Do you get it? You know, did I get it? Versus, you know, did I get it right? Do you feel understood? Like, the only difference is paraverbal. Your tone of voice.
Also an example of the American sense of humor sometimes is repeating something 3 times, you know? You say something, then you use it with a different intonation, and then people start laughing. For us as foreigners, it's extremely weird. Repeating it with different intonations all the time. So I also think sense of humor is a very careful thing to use when you're intercultural. It's better not to use it if you're not sure how it's received. You can use mild sense of humor, but don't be careful about it.
I find like I moved away from Canada 2 years ago, and most of the people I interact with is like non-native English speakers. So I've changed the way that I speak. And my brother came to visit us in Kenya, and he's like, "Why are you talking to everybody like they're stupid?" I'm like, "But I've learned that people I'm talking to, it might be their 3rd language, it might be their 2nd language. I don't know what their level is and how well they understand me, because I might be speaking too fast and my accent is different." But like native English speakers interpret it as you think the other person is stupid.
Do people not born in Kenya, do you recognize when you switch that language and you enunciate much more clearly and speak? Like, there needs to be a name for that. Like, and it's very similar. Like, I've noticed expats, it's, they've switched gears. Like, I totally and Kenyans, like, can you hear the difference? Do you notice this at all?
I'm speaking as a Kenyan.
Yeah. So you notice when expats are changing how they're speaking? Yeah.
But I do that too. I mean, with my countrymen, I speak with my Singlish, Singapore English. And Kenyan, I speak Shang if I can. And if I'm with you, I'll speak in your Canadian accent. You know, it's adaptability and communicative communication.
So interpreted so many times.
And that.
Basically, that's that. Because even for me, when I'm out of the country and speaking to people, and English is not part of the language, I've got to say words in a way that I know they will understand.
So you're adjusting.
Yes.
And is it paraverbal? Like, is it your rate of speaking, your enunciation, your tone?
All that.
Yeah. And I don't think this gets enough attention. Right? I don't meet very many people who've heard of paraverbal, and yet it wins hands down.
I think there's a saying that this skill that we're all talking about, that we switch immediately, is that we already gained this cultural sensitivity, and we've gained a competence that we're able to recognize it, switch. So this would be called code switching in the Harvard intercultural training.
Can I go back to the list of the deep democracy? Because there's something I've had to work. So I'm married to an Arab, lived in the Middle East. I speak fluent Swahili, Arabic, and then I worked in England. And this is cheesy and it's old school. But what's in it for me? That if you can identify the what's in it for me, and as trainers, as lots of learning people in this room, then your deep democracy is going to win. And I think you can always find a simple what's in it for me for.
And can I add to that point, because I think one of the leading questions within this deep democracy is what do you need to go along? And so say we all decide now we're going for coffee, but you're still like, I want tea. Okay, so that's the main question is, and this is a very simple example, like, okay, so we're going with the majority, because that's the way it works most of the time. So we're going with the majority, it looks like we're going down for coffee, but what do you need to come along? And then he said like, well, actually I came here for decision making, so can we just have 5 more minutes? And then you run it through the group again. And so, and then apparently there's either wisdom in it, so people will say like, yeah, we can add that to the decision, and then you get it more like buy-in from the whole group. And this is a very simple example. So there are different steps in this whole process, and it was actually, and that's why I love it also. It was developed by Myrna Lewis after the post-apartheid in South Africa, and so suddenly these South African companies had to deal with a change of management, and people who never were allowed to speak up were suddenly getting management positions, and then people, so it's
Can you say the person's name again?
Myrna Lewis, M-Y-R-N-A, and then L-E-W-I-S.
But do they also, I mean, because, it's like we have this individualistic countries and the group-oriented countries. It would be interesting to see if this process is similar depending on what cultural background you have.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think decision making, you have really a variety of decision making tools, or you can also decide I'll just take a decision by I consult people, and then in the end I'm the one taking the decisions, or you go by the normal democracy or whatever. This has been a really great tool for, especially in diverse organizations, and I've worked a lot with corporates where there's unfortunately still a white male management, and taking all the decisions like this works worldwide, so it has to work in Burundi, it has to work in Kenya, which is fine. You can say like, we're going this direction with our company, but then how do you make sure that everyone is on board? So what do people need to stay on board, and what is the wisdom they add to that decision? For example, they can say like, I can see that it works worldwide, but in this, maybe we can tweak a little bit our style, or maybe we can think of other customers, and so.
A big reno for an even bigger personality. This guy's living the 50th.
But I love it. A little energizer. Pointing out it is an attitude as well. Like they really want to hear like, great, you voted for Trump. How interesting. I've never thought about it. Let me hear your views, and what can I learn from that?
When you do that, do you not lose the people who are in the majority, and they would get bored with looking into the minority?
Yeah.
How do you make sure that you are able, by making sure that the people who are out are in? How do you not lose those who are already in?
Because I believe that the decision in the end is a better one. Is like there is this. I believe that this minority has insights which I, as a majority, might not be aware of.
But how do you transmit that message that usually the majority are not thinking in terms of the importance of the minority? So how do you make sure that they are aware of what they are gaining to have a better global final product?
Because eventually they go and add common attacks. They attack the person or the characteristics of the majority, or the majority thinking that the minority, they don't want to listen to the arguments, they just attack the minority's character.
Yeah.
Ad hominem attack is what the baseline seems to be, just to say, sorry, don't agree, let's move on.
So you try to make sure, like, and there's a whole theory behind it which is way too much, but it's also like a whole theory, so you try to get like the opinion disconnected from the person, so it's not you who brings up this topic, it's this topic comes up, so it must be present even in others. And then you add this to the decision, and it can be a really long process. Like one of the exercises can be like a small decision, and it can about like when do we break for lunch, where you try to practice implement this, and it can take like really long. So you get people irritated with it. But in the end, the whole purpose is to get all the voices heard, because the belief is that there is wisdom in all these voices. If you don't manage to take a decision, if this person in the minority says, well, there's nothing in me which wants to go along with this decision, and that comes back a few times, then there's something else. Then it's not about decision making, there is a conflict. And then there's no other scala of exercises or tools you can implement. So I think it's if there is a will to take a decision as a team, it will work. If there is if in the end you can't reach a decision and you have tried it 3 times, then there's a conflict. And that 3 times, since I was introduced to that, it's really true. Like if a topic comes up 3 times, then there is something about it. You need to tackle a problem. You need to tackle a conflict. I wanted to do decision making, but I think
Okay. I just wanted actually to talk about the time. Suzanne, you had your hand up.
And I think we just got. I think it's highly interesting. I'd really like to read more about it. But as I said, I'd really be interested to know, because I think this is a very concern of our Western or individualistic, in our mindset. This is really, really important. I think to see it from the other perspective on Kenya, family, group orientation is so important. Is this really such a big thing that you can implement here? Is it effective in Kenya for the Kenyan way of doing things? That's why I would actually really want to hear what your opinion is, but I don't know about the time, because I love it. Or maybe it's a blend of both,
Yeah, and I love your because I know there's a lot of work done on the different decision making processes in different cultures, and so this is just one, but it's one which for me really works in multicultural teams, especially since I can see there's a tendency of management taking decisions and not having everyone on board. But I agree. Like, if someone wants to add to this, or
let me just draw the attention to the large group. I've done a couple things. So I found a couple of so Deep Democracy Net, a couple of resources there. I've put them in the Facebook Live. I've also booked them on Digo. So if any of you use or are familiar with Digo, it's a social bookmarking site. So I've got lots of things tagged there under conflict resolution and communication. So you can just go into my account and those things will pop up. If this sounds a little bit like I'm speaking Latin, do you know social bookmarking? So just really quickly, Digo is a site. Have you ever found this really great resource on the web and you go back to find it and it takes you half an hour and you're frustrated and you can't find it? Okay, so social bookmarking, you can use it in 2 ways. You can go into someone else's account. So mine is just digo.com, user Leanne Reagan. I can put this in the Facebook Live. And then you don't need to do anything else. You just look around and you can look at all my tags here. Or once you have your own account, you get this little thing on your browser, this little blue thing here. So when I want to tag something, I click that, and it automatically puts in a title, and I put the tags that I want, and I can make it private. If I make it private, if you go into my account, you're not going to see this tag, okay? It's wonderful. Use a lot. So teacher workshop, I'm like, here's the link, go find these conflict tags or whatever. So I've tagged those things in Digo, so you can go into my account, look around.
Is it just your name to get into your account, or is there like
you can make your
to get into your
to get into my account? Yeah, it's just, and I put the link in the Facebook Live right here. So you just click on it and it'll take you to my, and it updates, it's all in the cloud, so it updates. If I put 50 tags in right now and you click on it, you'll get those tags. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tool.
And maybe just to round this up, Moran is the one who did a lot of work on this in the Netherlands, and she's coming to Kenya for 6 months. So maybe we can invite her to do a small workshop during this roundtable, because she's way more experienced than I am in this field, and she's also exploring working in this field in Kenya. That's why she comes.
So I'm conscious that some people were talking about social media and kind of that. So I'm just showing you my process. So I'm going into my notes, and I'm just adding a note there under speaker ideas so I have it tagged to remember. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and what I wanted to do was just let you know, it's 20 to 12. I want to make sure we've got some time to look at these beautiful items. And I just wanted to see, anyone that hasn't had a chance to speak yet, did you have a question or a comment on any of the topics we've talked about? Is there anything you wanted to say? Okay, also know that I made some notes in the agenda, so I'll repost the agenda. I'll create a new link, and I put some of those things in there. Okay, so it's 20 to 12. I don't think we have time for the intercultural communication thing, but do you want to do like 10 minutes on WordPress and 10 minutes kind of closing and looking at beautiful items with that? Or do you have another idea of how you want to move forward?
Sounds great. Maybe we start with some other items and then just until we go to the next subject. So
Sure.
Do shopping
Sure.
Retail therapy.
So,
work later. Or is it?
Faith and Jane, would you be comfortable just like a couple words about your group and just maybe laying the items out there, and then when we finish, people can wander over and take a look if they like?
Okay. I'll just say a little bit. Okay. Danish Refugee Council supports refugees that are camp-based and those that are not camp-based. The ones living in Nairobi usually have to earn a living for themselves. And of course, when it comes to the Kenyan market, job market, just like many of the people in this room, they have to compete with Kenyans. In this room, we are very lucky. Many of us have got many degrees and a higher set of skills. You would find somebody who came from home and maybe they've just had primary school education. Some are really highly skilled. But at the end of the day, this person has to find a way to fend for themselves. And you find that the refugees that are based in Nairobi have reasons for not being in the camp. It could be that they feel that they're not secure enough to be able to live there. They could have come to Nairobi to get an education. They could, their health conditions might not enable them to be able to stay in the camp. But at the end of it all, they have to find a way of fending themselves for themselves. Like in the camp, you have things like food distributions being done. But in Nairobi, there's nothing like that. So you find that most of them bring the skills that they got back home and try and make something out of it. I'm not the one who is currently in charge of this project. I was in charge of it last year, but the person who was in charge of it just came back from Kakuma. And I'd told Liana would bring a sample, but the sample I brought was of the same bag that she was interested in. But Liana, if you could go onto Facebook on Pamoja Collectives, yeah? There is Pamoja Collectives page. That is one of the places where we actually have quite a variety of items.
Sorry, I've got so many tabs open, so it's struggling a little bit.
Pamoja Collectives, right page, because there's a group and a page. The one with the shoes. Yes, we actually started off as a group, but opened it up last year and turned it into a page.
as you see two logos there, the Danish Refugee Council one and the UNHCR one. Actually, other organizations are involved in this. You have Refuge Point, you have Jesuit Refugee Council, you have a few refugees that are supported by IRC, or anyone that actually is working with the refugees, and also the World Federation. They also support. Okay, this site has got all products by refugees, not only in Nairobi. You have a few products from Dadaab, and you also have other products from Kakuma. Basically, what is sold is anything that can be made by hand. We usually attend different exhibitions that are held whenever there are exhibitions. Whenever there are big exhibitions like the Nairobi Fashion Market, you get us there. We're still trying to get to the exhibition that is held at the Karura Forest. We've not managed to penetrate through that. And the Kilimani festivals, we are there. And every first and last week of the month, we are found at the village market. And we sell, the first week we sell, is it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the last week we sell Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. What we've been really working on with the refugees as Danish Refugee Council is try to modernize some of the traditional arts. I'll show you a sample of the bags, and I'm sorry I just brought one type. I actually want the owner of the project to be able to run with it, come here and show you the different things. Or if you go to village market and actually interact with the refugees, what we encourage is that things are done at market rates. Please don't feel this is a refugee and feel that you're compelled to purchase. We want them to compete at equal market level, because if they are resettled or repatriated, they will have to compete at that par. Yeah? And we want to maintain that. So I'll show you. I'll show you the backpacks, and that is what Lian had asked for. If I knew I was going to have a bigger market, I would have brought more programs, more products from the office. Yeah. You find that this is actually patchwork. It's something that they were taught by Caritas. As I told you, work as many organizations to do. They started off with just a simple bag, and they were able to diversify some of the designs. The kitenge material forms part of the culture of mostly the Congolese refugees. Yeah? You find some of these vitenges come from their country, and some are bought here in Misili, and some come from Tanzania or Uganda. They make very good bags for us, laptop bags for us, and also people have been buying them for their school-going kids. Each bag goes for 2,000. Anyone wanting to purchase one, I'll give you an M-Pesa number that you can send the money directly to the person who actually makes the bags. These are made by one refugee. His name is Joseph. Yeah. Joseph is actually a Rwandese refugee who is supporting 5 children. One of them happens to be disabled. Yeah.
And truly an example of how small this world is, my sister was visiting from Canada, and she went to Village, and she came home with this beautiful bag. I'm like, where did you get that? And I went to Village and tried to find them, and they weren't there. I went to the Village business office, and they're like, oh, just call this number. So I call the number, and eventually, who calls back but Faith? Like, it's you. Hi! Want to come to the roundtable? Yeah. So, yeah, very cool.
Yes, so, and anything that you want made from the kitenge fabric, anything you want woven, they all have the skills to do it. And actually, we even have other items that are here within the UN complex. They come in through UNHCR, and they are found at the gift shop. We have very beautiful table mats. There's like different style of bag that is made in Kakuma. And then we have necklaces. Necklaces were made by the people, refugees in Dadaab, and we all know that there's a current program for Somali refugees to be returned home. So now the refugees who are doing this have actually been relocated to Kakuma. Now they are Kakuma refugees. Yes? Those who are interested in woven products, a lot of them come from Dadaab. We haven't highlighted them here, but they are there. We actually encourage people to buy the fabric for them and make whatever style that they do want to make. Yes.
You mentioned Joseph's contact information.
Oh, yes.
If you have it, I can put it right on the feed.
Different group.
No, this is a different group. Okay, this is the learning and development roundtable.
Yes. Joseph's number is 0722 630 669.
So this number, so this will all be published, and again, it's in the learning. It's called the Learning and Development Roundtable. It's a public group, but to participate, you need to ask your member.
Yeah, and I just clicked on it. Great.
And something else I want to add is that as much as you'll find UNHCR, Danish Refugee Council, and other organizations involved, we actually are there to be able to be the linkage, but we'd actually like you to interact with the refugee directly, because as it is, Danish Refugee Council is not running a show. Therefore, we can't take it and start selling it on their behalf. They are the ones who are doing this, yes? And we welcome comments on their products. All these products have been developing. They are living products. So anything you want, anything that you've seen abroad and you'd like them to make, just make recommendations, and we'll be happy to work with them to make it into that style that you'd love. Thank you.
Thank you, Faye. Okay. We're really close to noon, so I'll just quickly show you in behind the scenes on a WordPress site, like just a couple minutes, and then we'll close. Is that okay? Okay. So WordPress is the most popular blog platform in the world, and it's free. And there's two different ways to have a WordPress site. One is not having WordPress in your name. So my site is a WordPress site, but you wouldn't know that from the URL, and that's because I paid for that, for that account. If you don't mind having WordPress .Anita Shankar whatever, then it's totally free. So this is my blog. I'm designing a new website, so everything's going to look different soon. But this is what it looks like behind the site. So I'm just going to show you super quickly how to, this is what it looks like to do a blog post. It's pretty simple. You know, you just put your title in, you write your post. One thing that saved me, I want to share with you because it saved me hours of frustration, are these two tabs here. Visual is when you're typing your normal information. It is super, super, super easy to put a video in a blog post. Okay? So easy. Could not get easier. If you want to do that, you just go to any video, you click on share, and you don't, if you copy this link, it's just going to be a hyperlink. If you actually want the video, you click on embed, and you're going to get all this gobbledygook, which is HTML code. Okay? So if you want to, anytime you want to put HTML code in, it's not going to work if I paste it in there. This is what's going to show when you publish it. Okay? Instead, and this is so simple, is you just click on text, and you see how this looks. There's things that show up that you wouldn't see in the normal post. This is HTML code. So if I post it here, and I go back to visual, the video's there. That's how easy it is. It's so simple. Okay? So real quick thing, when you have a video that you want to embed, you click share. If you grab this, is that going to make the video show up? No. What's going to show up? A hyperlink. Yeah. So what do you do if you want to have the whole video there? Embed, and then you grab all this gobbledygook. And this is a little extra tip. Let's just say the really cool part of your video starts at 2 minutes and 51 seconds. You can click this thing here and put in the start time. And I mean, these tools are so powerful, right? Then it will automatically start at that point. Okay? Sorry? So my new website is going to have events. So this is what my new. It's taken a year. So this is all on WordPress, right? And there's a game on here that I hired a game developer to do. So WordPress has tons and tons of plugins. So if you want to have a shop, if you want to have events, if you want to have whatever, those plugins, and those plugins are regularly updated. You can link it to opt-ins. You know, the potential is absolutely incredible. So just to give you you can make me cry. There's been a lot of tears over this stupid thing. Thank you. Thank you. Oh yeah. No, this is done by a team of people. Yeah. But here's an event. You know, I can, and what you can do is you can have the events, you know, in a list view. You can have it in a calendar view. These are all free plugins that you know, tens of thousands of people use. Another really important thing, and this will look a little different based on, you know, what you choose to do, but you really need to keep on top of updating, because these plugins and these sites are constantly updated because of security. So you'll get it'll have a little red thing, just like your phone, right? But you have to keep those updated because otherwise you're, you know, higher risk for security. You can choose when to publish your blog, right? You can schedule it. Down here you can put categories, right? So you click, okay, well this is a change management thing. You can put tags, right, on your post. Down here, this is what Google will see. So you can put the title here again, your tags, your description. you can say, oh, this is a change management post. You know, some blog posts at the bottom, it'll say, oh, these are some related. So this is how you do it. You just say it's related to change. So I just put change in, and oh, it's saying these ones are prior ones. So you just click on whatever one you want, and those will automatically appear on the bottom. Oh, important, adding media. So you want to add a picture, right? That's just right here. It's pretty simple, right? Click here. You can upload. You just drag and drop from your desktop. There it is. You want to make sure it's the right size. You know, there's some important things around there. And you just now have the basics of writing a blog post on WordPress. It's pretty simple.
And then you also track who has where.
Yeah. So you want to link. Yes, you want to link it to Google Analytics, right? Yeah. There's lots of different analytics programs, but Google Analytics is really. This is how Google works. You say to Google, I want you to tell me where people are coming from. Are they coming from desktop? Are they coming from mobile? How long are they staying on my page? What's my bounce rate? Does anyone know what a bounce rate is? Yes. So your bounce rate is the percentage of people who land on one page and leave right away. They don't click on another link. So Google will tell you all, like, there are people that is their entire job is Google Analytics because it is so amazingly deep. In exchange, so Google says, okay, no problem, I'll give you all this stuff for free. You just need to put a little bit of code into your website that Google gives you. And that's how Google, lets things be found and all of that, because everyone wants Google Analytics. It's so powerful.
It's nice to see a paid one because I'm just running on a free one. And it looks totally different. Well, it's totally different.
Well, and
more
that's
features.
Yeah, and it's not just because of is it paid or not. It's also because of your theme and your design, right? So you can pick. There are millions of themes, and some of those are paid and some of those are free.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty, like this was not cheap, and it also doesn't include SEO. So this whole website is not. That's a whole other thing. So SEO is search engine optimization. So SEO is, think of it as leaving little breadcrumbs on the net. So if you don't leave these breadcrumb trails, it's harder for people to find you.
So how do you leave those crumbs?
So you have, I'm not an expert in this, but you have like meta tags. So each page has certain tags. Your description of each page should be optimized. So when you do a search for someone like Danielle Laporte, all of this stuff here, right? Like it's not just this, it's all of these things. That's all because of SEO. She's really optimized that. Versus if you find, occasionally you'll look for something and you click on the link, it's got nothing to do with what you're, like that's not good SEO.
Search engine optimization.
Yeah.
And you figured that out yourself, or again
No.
you hired someone?
I gotta hire another person for that. Yeah. And I'm hiring I've just finally hired a digital strategist. So someone who's going to do an audit of all of my digital assets. So digital is bigger than social media, right? So social media is your Twitter, your LinkedIn, whatever. I'm hiring someone to include that, but also website. How do you make all those pieces fit together? So she's going to do she's got a 3-month contract, and it's going to be a data-driven digital strategy. And when that is done, I will celebrate with you. It's been a long haul. They're surprisingly hard to find. I've spent months and months finding someone. Yeah.
You think they'd be good at CEO?
Well, yeah, but the field is so broad. Like it really comes down to what do you need them to do? Because it's really, like this, actually, so this is an interesting story, and then we'll close. This woman from the Philippines, very, very smart, savvy woman, found the Learning and Development Roundtable, sent me a 30-minute video on how to optimize my Facebook group, and said, I'm for hire. You know, like, and so she was in the final, yeah. And the video was, if you've seen it, you know, a little picture of her in the lower left-hand corner, and then she was screen capturing. So she was navigating all over my assets, my digital assets, saying, well, I noticed this, and I noticed this. I'm like, okay, can we check the proactive box? You know? Yeah. So, didn't end up hiring her, but she came in second. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? She lost it on customer service, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I asked her some questions, and she said, look at the video. I'm like, I don't have 30 minutes. Like, and I emailed her back, and then she made another video to answer the question, and I'm like, I don't have time. You got...
Cultural difference. I think
Yeah.
it's brilliant. It has,
Yeah.
3 minutes is better.
Yeah. No, but that's why I didn't hire her. Yeah.
You know what we did one day? One of the
You're so savvy on this stuff. Sharing your savviness would be a good.
So that is a great segue, because I know we're over time here. So I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly. Just a reminder of your HARP tool. You know, think about how do you get the learning to leave the room? What were your highlights? What action do you want to take? Did you make any little doodles? You know, feel free to really try to, again, get that learning to leave the room. Because you did the hard work of getting onto the UN compound. Right? You made it here. Couple things. I'm launching online courses. This is a new thing for me, so stay tuned for that. I did a new thing this time, in that I published promoted the roundtable in the YWSC and Here We Are. Yeah, the Here We Are post. So if you came here that way, that probably means you're not on my mailing list, which is totally fine. But if you want to get regular updates, see me after we finish, if you want to be added to that mailing list. And donations. We're charged 300 shillings. Can you just send that around? 300 shillings for your badge. Whether people show up or not. Today, everyone showed up. Yay. No one had like, my car broke down. And well, except there's a glaring exception. Except for the speaker. Yeah. We very grateful to get a minimum of 300. But if it affects your access and ability to come, don't worry about it. Would love to get 1,000 shillings. You might think, well, what do you do with that money? Once a year, we donate the cash to an organization that is of this group's choosing. So 100% of that money goes there, less the badges, of course. Lending library. We have a small lending library. There's some things here. If you want to borrow anything, let me know. Please don't walk out of the room with it. I just like to keep tabs. We typically alternate mini workshops with guest speakers, and I have had some suggestions, and I'm just writing yours down here, Jenny. Would love some feedback. I'm going to see if Fiona can come May 18th. We might ditch this networking session. And June, and he gave me he's like, yes, I'm in for sure. I'm like, okay, I can announce it. So June 22nd, Nathaniel is going to speak. He's just so lovely. He is an amazing videographer. He's Canadian. He moved to Nairobi, taught himself Shang, taught himself Swahili, and he, lived and worked in Mathari and does these incredible videos. I'm like, how do you do that? Tell us how you find a story and that kind of thing. So he's going to be talking about video storytelling, and his name is Nathaniel. Yeah, he's a lovely, lovely guy. July we will not meet. August we won't meet, and then I'm booking for the fall. So I have a wonderful woman who lives in Zanzibar, who I met at the e-learning conference. She's great, and she's willing to talk on mobile learning, LMSs, learning management systems, Google Apps, Moodle, gamification, whatever we want. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do a little poll in the Facebook group of what you're interested in. Have you heard of these guys, Peace Tech? I've been trying to connect with them forever. They do a lot of stuff that sounds interesting. There was one guy, this could sound so boring, but we have a wizard who stays on the UN compound, who does Excel and can make Excel do the most amazing things. And I thought that would be an interesting session.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because like if you can get Excel working for you, yeah, and he can, I've never met anyone who can make Excel do the kind of things he does. So that's another option. And then this social media, digital tech stuff. So would you make a point of going to the Facebook group and watching for that poll and giving me your feedback? And also other, like, what else do you want to have here? If you have other ideas, love to hear them. Jenny, yeah.
If I don't want to bring friends, is that okay?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
So just RSVP through the same link? Yeah, absolutely fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so RSVP for me and
Yeah.
also for my friends.
Yeah, and just make it clear, like when you RSVP, you're committing to, unless it's an access issue, you're committing to paying at least 300 shillings. Yeah.
So I just joined the group through the Facebook Here We Come Canada. So is that, I'm not on the mailing list
No.
then?
So the mailing list is an emailing list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should just come to you
yes.
and maybe.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being so gracious and flexible about the topic change, for being resilient. I just wrote a post on grit. In my blog, there's a grit assessment based on the National Geographic research, which has been out. So thank you for your grit and being so flexible about our topic and participating and all of that. Special thanks to Jody for Deep Democracy. How cool is that? And special thanks to Jane and Faith for your patience in getting on this compound. We hope you come back. We hope we haven't turned you away. And Faith for bringing these lovely, amazing things and sharing them. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. If this is your weekend, and hope to see you next month. Bye to folks online. You guys want to wave goodbye?
Oh.